Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of TCG Talk, back today with another video. And in today's video, we're going to be talking about the upcoming BNR announcement that James White and Brian Gottlieb spoke about on those recent Dev Talk. I think it's on the 19th. We're going to bring up some cards here, just have some good general discussion on what could be in this ban restricted announcement, and just kind of get your thoughts as a community as well. So feel free to comment down below whether you agree or disagree with some of my takes in this video. But if you're new to the channel, welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by. Hopefully enjoy your stay. If you're a long-standing supporter, thank you so much as always. Feel free to check out the Discord down below, channel membership, all of that good stuff. We'll get right into it. So before bringing up the cards, most of the cards I have in here are like true realistic choices. Like, let's be real. Some of them though are going to be like design space thoughts, like cards that maybe aren't a problem right now, but they need to go, I think, in order to help the class itself. And then there's like one or two like real tin hat, I wish they would go, but they probably won't. So we have like different levels here. I say all that to say that it really depends on what LSS is, and I don't know this, what their goal is with this BNR announcement on the 19th. And the reason I say that is we've had a lot of meta shakeup in the last couple months, like, to say the least. That's probably putting it lightly. Enigma's gone, Zen is gone, Aurora's gone. We're about to have New go. New, even with Florian like going up after Post Aurora, I think New is going to be gone by the first week of Nats is my guess. She's going to be, I mean, she's at what, 800 points right now. I see her gain like another 100 over the next week. Or where she's really close. She's at the point to where she's either going to be gone by the end of ProQuest season or the first week of Nats. And then we also have, she might be at like 800. And then we also have Azalea, who I think is going to start getting a couple more wins with Aurora being gone, even with Florian and, you know, the slower fatigue decks having, a lot of people are doing the drip board package. And I think she might be gone in Nats as well. So all that to say, we have 5 heroes that are gone this year, which is a lot. The problem is 4 out of 5 of those heroes are from the last 2 sets in the last year. So that's not healthy, right? You want heroes to Living Legend, like, not the most recent ones. But that's been talked about in other videos and, you know, talked about at length, so I won't go too far down the rabbit hole with that. All that to say is it's going to be interesting because of what's happened and transpired. Like, what is LSS's focus with this BNR announcement? Are they just trying to fix the current meta? Are they going to try to fix the current meta and then maybe like ban 1 or 2 cards ahead of time for high Cs? Or is this going to be like not quite book burning level game defining, but is it going to be like, you know, okay, we're going to reset everything again a little bit because obviously we're on a trajectory that we don't want to have, right? I don't know where they're at. I don't know where they're sitting, but regardless, I think that focus will change what cards you see go. So to get into it, the first one and the most, in my opinion, the most realistic one that would make the most sense is Runebound Carropus. Runebound Carropus does a lot for not just Florian, but also Verdansk. It would hurt Verdansk a little bit more in terms of like unfairness of banning. But Runebound Carropus, I think, is a very big glue piece that heightens the consistency of Florian tremendously. And the one thing I want to say is we're going into these cards, what I don't want to see, and I know LSS isn't doing this, but I'm seeing a lot of people on socials doing this with their banning wants, is they're just trying to target ban Florian. You can't do a bunch of different bans just to target ban one hero. I don't think that should be the focus in this ban and strict announcement. And personally, for LSS, is just my shot in the dark. I don't think that's their focus. I think they are going to try to hit Florian in a slight way, similar to how they did Bullseye Bracers with Lexi. I think that's their goal, but I don't think that's the main focus of the ban and restricted announcement. Anyway, I think Runebound Carropus is probably, if you're going to make one singular ban to Florian, I think this is the best one. Decompose should be an offensive thing. You know, I don't like the fact... that sounds like so like subjective, but I don't think it's good for the game and good for matchups where Florian can be non-interactive and still turn on his hero ability. I think Decompose should be an offensive thing, and I think it allows Florian to kind of play a little bit more degenerate and, you know, just progress the game state without having to be interactive, even more so than other cards that can do a similar, like, you know, play pattern. And I think it also adds a level of consistency to the deck that's insane. Maybe you take out just the reds, but I personally would take out the whole Color Wave, I think if you do one singular hit, I think Runebound Carropus makes the most sense. It's the biggest glue piece, but if you take it out, it doesn't kill the hero. It's like bullseye bracers. It takes out, the speed at which the hero can do its thing. And I think that's probably one of the better ones. Another one that would hurt Verdance indirectly, which I hate, is Channel the Millennium Tree. Channel the Millennium Tree should have been a wizard card. It should have been an Earth Wizard aura, in my opinion. I do agree with one thing. I was watching some of the card guys, Nathan, talk about some of the bans, and I do agree with his one statement. Hopefully I'm saying it correctly, is there should never be a situation other than very, very unique things. And he didn't even say unique things. He just said there should never be a situation where you have to bring more than one AB into Runeblade from a play pattern perspective. And I can really resonate with that. I agree. Because the only other time you really should have to bring AB2 if you really cared that much was Viscerai with Looming Doom. If you really want to try to prevent the Looming Doom aspect of dying, right? But that was the whole thing of Looming Doom, is people would bring AB1 into Runeblade, and then there's just looming damage that's coming at you because you don't have AB2. And that's okay. That's really thematic. This is I don't like the fact that if I can't push enough damage on Florian and go over the top, I have to now run AB3 because, in the Ira, for example, Ira's a good mid-range deck, can push some decent damage when she's given time to set up with dual threats. But against Florian, the difference between AB1 and AB3 is massive. It's 18 damage versus 6 if he's throwing rune chants at you. And now if he's using Septer, he's making 3 rune chants, right? If you AB1 it versus, 1 rune chant, potentially, whatever the case may be. So I think Tree just enables too much, and it doesn't go with what Runeblade should be doing. It does go with what Earth should be doing. I understand the thematics of Rosetta and, channeling the power of the Millennium Tree. I get what the point of the card is. I just think it should have been a wizard thing. I don't think Runeblade should have access to that big of a spell, in my opinion. So that's another one they could hit. I think Runebound Carropus and Channel Millennium Tree are the two most realistic targeted bans that would affect the metagame but not kill the hero, in my opinion. As we're getting a little bit more theory crafting and going into the realm of future design space, 3 of a Kind is definitely a card a lot of people are talking about. I didn't put it on here, but I don't want them to hit Death Dealer. And we're talking about Marlin here. Marlin's hero ability is extremely powerful, right? Being able to put cards in Arsenal as you're drawing is insane. It gives you a level of card efficiency that just breaks the down. Because the whole downside of Ranger is usually, not all the time, but usually, is you have to pay an extra resource to do what you're doing because you're loading. Riptide can get around that with his ability, but you also have to really have a level of attack to non-attack action. So there's a drawback to it. Marlin, so far, the only drawback is the amount of cards that draw you cards in the game that makes sense for her to play. 3 of a Kind's insane level of efficiency with her, if she gets any amount of decent arrows, will be really oppressive. And it is warrant a look at. Now, whether they think it's big enough, we'll see. I'm sure they've tested it. LSS can see the future. No shit, right? On some of these sets. So they see if it's powerful enough. Maybe she needs a card like this to really get over the top a little bit. Who knows? But it's definitely a card that I could see being on the radar, especially since this restricted announcement's coming out the 19th. That means it's coming out right after spoilers, which I think, let me rephrase this. I think something is going to be banned that has to do with a High Seas character because they learned from the Hunted. A lot of people got annoyed in the Hunted because it might have been Rosetta, where they did the spoilers and then they waited to preemptively ban something that was going to be affected in that set a week later, 2 weeks later or something like that. Remember? Someone help me in the comments remind me what set that was. Where the ban came 2 weeks after the spoilers, and people were annoyed about that because then people bought boxes, did all this stuff, and people were like, well, that's basically sharking or whatever the case may be. I think they're learning from that, and they're basically coming out with the BNR right after spoilers, and that tells me that there's going to be something in that BNR pertaining or that's being affected because of high seas heroes. And if you give me one card in the current card pool that's probably the most effective, it's 3 of a kind. Maybe Call of the Grave, but I think Grave Bones is going to need that card. So that's another one. Going back to like the target bans, some people have talked about Septer Pain. I'm not going to talk about this one as much. This one's like it's a 2-for-1. What makes this card stupid is other stuff like Channel Millennium Tree. Like this card in and of itself isn't a design restriction, in my opinion. This card in and of itself isn't powerful. Isn't like, overly powerful. It's other cards that make it powerful, right? So I don't think Septer Pain should be banned personally. Going other into a potential unban, if you had to pick one card that should be unbanned right now, I think Plunder Run is the biggest one. And this is simply like half for, I truly do think it should be unbanned. I don't think its power level is really that bad anymore. To the other side of like, LSS is we now have 12 0-for-4 defense reactions with additional abilities technically. Fate Foreseen lets you opt, Sink Below lets you hand fix, and Shelter the Storm just breaks freaking certain heroes, right? Like, if they're going to give defensive decks access to 12 0-for-4 defense reactions, 2 of which are pretty overrated. They're all overrated technically, but 2 of which are egregiously overrated in hand fixing and, the prevention, we should be able to have Plunder Run as an aggro deck. That's just my opinion. I don't think this card's even remotely as powerful as it used to be. It's still very powerful, but I think it's fine. I would also I think it'd be really good, nice in the metagame right now. You have to set up, but the decks you set up against can now have more ways to affect your arsenal because there's going to be so much arsenal hate in the new set. I think Plunder Run is a very good card to put into the game, personally. It also goes really well with Marlin's ability without breaking it, in my opinion. So that's just where I see things. Another one that's talked about a lot right now is Count Your Blessings. Count Your Blessings, I hate the card, so like how do I put this? My opinion's very biased. Like, I'll say that straight up. I don't think this card should be in the game. I think it promotes inactive or card for decks not to be active or not to interact with you. Even fatigue decks have some level of interaction. And this literally says, I don't have to interact with you. If you hit me with a Crippling Crush or you hit me with a Bonds of Agony, okay, cool. I'll just respond to the on-hit trigger and play 2 Count Your Blessings, gain X life, and you don't get any benefit to what I just did. And I pretty much just nullified half, if not all of your attack, depending on the game state and how many CYBs I have in my grave. Like, I know there's probably going to be a lot of grave hate in this new set, so maybe that would help. I just think this promotes an unhealthy way of Flesh and Blood, and I was very surprised. This is the one thing I'll get snippy with. I was very surprised on James White's almost like clap back saying like, I think this is how, if he said something to the effect of he thinks this card's like one of the epitomes of like fatigue long game strategies and Flesh and Blood, which makes zero sense to me because you're literally saying I'm promoting decks not to be interactive. But regardless, as it pertains to this, I don't think it's like powerful enough right now to warrant a ban. It's very good, but it's not what's causing the issues. I do think just sentiment and overall design space and interactiveness in the game, it should be gone, but I don't think they will personally. Another one that's future designed, the one no one wants to talk about, is Aether Wildfire. I think they're trying to hope to God that Kano LLs so they can ban this card. I think this card is all but going to be banned. It's just a matter of when. Do they choose to ban it now, or do they ban it when Kano LLs? I think they're trying, like, this is just my opinion. I have no backing of this. I think they're trying like heck to let Kano Living Legend so they can ban this card. They don't want to ban it before he LLs because if they do, it guts Kano. Unless you get into a very, very specific meta, Kano becomes pretty much unplayable. So they're trying like heck to let Kano use this to LL and then ban it because it completely gatekeeps what you can do with Wizard. Wizard is very much a instant speed, play on your turn a little bit, play on my turn a little bit type hero class, and Wildfire just breaks that conduit, right? Like Icelander didn't use it as much except for like a few choice builds and Blitz or something, and Verdansk doesn't use it. However, I think there's a reason that they're designed the way they are, pretty much on their turn. Well, it's not on their turn. Icelander was on your turn too, but like they had to like make very unique styles in order to avoid the degenerates of Wildfire, and so I think Wildfire should be gone at some point. I don't think it'll be gone this one. Maybe they will, but I think they're trying to let Kano LL before they do that. And then we're going to talk about the hot topic one, and I just to let y'all know, I will be doing a video for fun on like what a Katsu deck would look like with Bonds of Ancestry red added, just the reds, with Retrace the Past and like new cards added. Bonds of Ancestry is such a cool card. I love and hate the card. I always said back when it was legal as I hated it because it made Katsu not a finesse deck anymore. It just made it like a degenerate loop deck. Like a Kano combo-esque like deck, and I hated that. But if you just put red back in, I think it keeps, and with Retrace the Past, I now think you have added levels of finesse and uniqueness to the deck, and I don't think I would dislike it as much. The funny thing is this card is similar to Wildfire, where it will perma gatekeep how Combo Ninja is created for the future of Flesh and Blood. Like being able to tutor, you basically have to make a Combo Ninja that can't tutor, which would make no sense. It would eliminate the whole combo-esque, thing. You basically have to natty draw combo lines, and that would suck. Or you have to make the deck so synergistic that's just broken. So it does limit their design space if they bring this card back, which is why I don't think they're going to bring it back. I think they're trying to find ways to make Katsu better again and Combo Ninja good again. I think you're seeing that in the Ira welcome deck, the Ira Armory deck coming out with like the one spoiler card that we saw. So we'll see. If it got unbanned, I wouldn't be surprised, but I would lean towards they're not going to unban it. And the funny thing is, even if they did, and this is just my opinion, if you gave Katsu red bonds, it just makes the deck playable. It doesn't even make the deck good. It takes the deck from like a laughing state, like why would you want to play Katsu, like in my opinion, max level, sorry Max fans, to like you can win it at your Armory. That's how I see it personally. I've played the deck for fun with bonds in it still, and red 3 crafting with some friends, and it's not that much better personally. Retrace does add some cool stuff, but not too crazy. That's just my opinion. But yeah, that's where that's at. And then my fun one, and this one's at the end for a reason, because I don't want people to think that I originally had this first in line. And I was like, I can't leave with Tuna. People are gonna not take me seriously. This card's not gonna get banned, but I wish it would. This is just a me thing. This isn't like a serious, deep dive. At least this card specifically, serious deep dive on BNR. I just think that this card, it's too marquee, it's too legendary, no pun intended, to the game. It's too collector worthy for them to ban it. That's why it will never be banned. It won't. If they're not going to ban freaking Traverse, they're not going to ban this card. I just think that this limits the chest slot for the future of all time in Flesh and Blood. Like, there's a reason 70% of decks play this card, because you'd have to overtune a card so much to make it worthwhile. Like, in any deck that's not a degen, never, hardly ever block aggro deck, this chess piece, like, you have to really, really think about, running something different in, like, to not make this worth it. Or not running center, but you have to really, like, have a overtuned, crazy good chess piece to not make this worth it. So, just my opinion. Maybe they'll find ways around it by making synergistic tech pieces, but they want this card to keep selling. So there's that. But yeah, I just wish this card would go. I think it limits what Flesh and Blood could be from like a uniqueness standpoint in terms of like deck synergies and class looks and class feels. I think this card vanillas out some class identities personally by itself, but that's just my opinion. But yeah, that's the cards. Just like quick, thoughts on each one, not too in depth. I want to reiterate, it all depends on like what their focus is going into this BNR. If it's like just to fix this meta specifically, I think you could see something like a Millennium Tree or a Runebound Carropus ban, and that's it. And then obviously I think we're getting Blitz bans because they said it's not this is a CC format. It's going to get shaken up. I think if they're thinking a little bit more future-proof, and because it's on the 19th, which is a very unique day, I think you could see – it also might be the 19th because that's when – I just thought about that. The 19th is also the end of PQ season. I didn't think about that. That also is probably why it is. People in the comments have probably already commented saying that's why it is when I said it the first time. Regardless, because of the timing. It could be also because of some future design proof stuff like 3 of a kind, things like that. But it all depends on like what their focus is. But let me know your comments are down below. If you disagree with something, it's completely fine. That's the whole fun part about this. Let's figure this out together. The game is in a different spot. It's not my favorite meta, but it's not in a bad spot by any means. It could be if they did nothing about it. I think Florian would literally hyperspeed LL if they did nothing. Like if they didn't touch, which is so funny because they're not going to touch anything until the end of ProQuest season. I'm doing this on the fly because you know me. It's this channel. We do everything on the fly. Florian is currently at 508 living legend points. I foresee Florian having like over 30% of a win share this week, which would give him 100 in points and change. He'd be at like 630, 640 by the end of week 4. And then his last week, he'll probably be at like 700, 800. Florian's potentially going to be at like 700 plus living legend points. So if High Seas doesn't shake things up or a ban doesn't shake things up, you could see Florian go in like 2 months. If they did nothing, Florian would be gone by like the second week of Nats. New is at 855, so I do think New will be at like post 900 by the time we get to Nats pretty easily, which means she only needs 4 Nat wins. If she's at like, let's say 925, she only needs 3 Nat wins because remember, every Nationals wins 25 points. She only needs 3 Nationals wins to LL, so she's all but gone. Azalea is at 886. I see her being at over 900 by the end of PQ season, probably like 920, 930 as well. So I think both of them go in Nats. And yeah, so we're going to see a lot of change here soon. It's going to be interesting. Kano's at 747. So let me know what your thoughts are down below. I'd love to hear it. Love to get your general thoughts. Probably tomorrow at the time you're watching this, or the next day will be the day I'll put out the fun Katsu video of like what it would look like with Bonds back. Just some fun theory crafting, nothing crazy. Get your head churning with the new card, or we might never see it again. Who knows? But regardless, thank y'all so much. Y'all have a great rest of your day, and I'll see y'all next time on TC Talk. If you like this type of content, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. Also, I forgot to mention, if you don't, that's completely fine. Go to the creator worksheet down below. There's a list of a ton of other creators. Go check out some awesome people, like their stuff, comment, subscribe to their stuff. Let's get other creators growing and seeing this game. And yeah, I'll see y'all next time on TC Talk.